Today, the topic of our discussion is regional injuries. And for that, the very first topic to be discussed are the skull fractures. Fractures of the skull broadly divided into two types: fracture of the vault of the skull and fracture of the base of the skull. Causes: they are either by the direct application of the force, for example, compression of the head by obstetrical forceps during delivery. Number 2, when the head is crushed under the wheel of a vehicle. Number 3, when the head is struck by a moving object such as brick, bullet, machine, hammer, iron rod, or bamboo stick, etc. Number 4, moving head strikes as an object, as in fall on a pavement and road traffic injuries. And finally, number 5, repeated blow to the head, as in boxing, known as the punch drunk syndrome. Secondly, by the indirect violence, skull receives force indirectly through other structures which receive primary impact, like fall from a height on the feet or the buttocks, pressure transmitted from an explosion, and blow on the chin when the force is transmitted from the mandible to the skull, causing fracture of the base of the skull. Mechanics of the skull fracture, Robotham's hypothesis. This states that the adult skull is incompressible, and this incompressibility of the skull causes an inward bend by the focal impact where the weapon strikes the skull. Hence, the skull undergoes a compensatory mechanism, whereas there occurs bulging of the surrounding area. This is called as struck hoop analogy. At the site of impact, the bone is indented in form of a shallow cone. At the apex of the cone, the inner table is stretched, but the outer table at the same time is compressed at the site of impact. If the limits of elasticity are not exceeded, the bone will recoil to its normal shape and no fracture will result. However, if the force is to the extent that the force exerts itself only on the inner table, it will fracture at the apex of the cone. But if the force is more extensive, that it surpasses the tensile strength and the resilience of both the inner and the outer tables as well, it will give in and both the tables will be fractured in this scenario. And similarly, at the surrounding periphery, the outer table will fracture first with an extension of the break of inner table at the apex, an extension of the break of the outer table at periphery. A depressed comminuted fracture may result. This same theory is explained in this diagram. On the extreme top left, you can see that the hammer is striking the cranium, and the point of impact where the hammer strikes the cranium on the right side of the top of the diagram shows that there is an intrusion at the site of impact and extrusion of the peripheral sites, both on the right and the left side. This is further explained in the lower part of the diagram that the inner table, it fractures at the apex of the cone, whereas the outer table, it might remain intact. And this force where the apex of the cone, it fractures at the site of impact, it then dissipates the energy towards the right and the left side, and it goes on towards the peripheral surrounding area, and there again an cone is formed, and there the outer table is fractured both on the right and the left side. So this is struck hoop analogy. Next very important phenomena is the Puppy's rule. It states that when two or more separate fractures occur from successive impacts, like one impact after another, the first impact that causes that fracture, for example, in this diagram, the fracture line number 1, the hammer strikes the occipital area of the skull and causes a fracture and the fracture line that radiates is fracture line number 1. And then there is a successive impact of the iron rod on the frontal part of the skull. And from there the fracture line radiates, but it is interrupted by the fracture line number 1. It cannot cross the fracture line number 1. So this signifies that there have been two impacts. The primary impact was by a hammer at the site number 1 at the occipital region of the skull, and the second impact was by the iron rod on the frontal part of the skull. So two assailants, two weapons, two different fracture lines, and one cannot cross the other fracture line, just signifying that the first one was the initial impact and the second one was the successive impact. Classification of the fractures of the skull. They are 9 in number: linear fracture, ring fracture, pond fracture, mosaic or spider's web fracture, depressed fracture, comminuted fracture, gutter fracture, penetrating fracture, and finally elevated fracture. Coming on to the next important topic of this lecture, coup and the contra coup injuries. Coup contra coup injuries can happen any time that a person's head is suddenly accelerated or decelerated. The terms coup and contra coup are French terms that mean blow and against the blow. The coup injury is caused by the brain hitting the interior of the skull, whereas the contra coup injury occurs directly opposite to the blow due to a process called cavitation. The most common example of these injuries come from car wrecks. Perhaps the simplest case can occur when you are a passenger in a car that rear ends another vehicle. When your car's front forward motion stops suddenly, your head keeps on moving until it can go no further, and your head comes to a sudden stop. Now, this might be helpful if someone is wearing a seat belt, otherwise the head is just going to go and either crash into the windscreen or into the dashboard. And after your head stops, it is likely that your head will rebound and travel backwards, and this action may repeat itself several times. Now, coming on to the details of the cavitation theory, what we already said, a similar process happens inside the skull. Consider the brain as a passenger inside the skull, riding only on a thin layer of cerebrospinal fluid. Just as your head kept on going when the car stopped suddenly, your brain slides backward until it can go no further, and it suddenly crashes into the back of the skull. A bruising injury occurs to the brain as a result of direct impact with the skull. Now for the cavitation part of the injury. Cavitation is the formation of air bubbles in a liquid at low pressure when the liquid is accelerated. The sudden movement of the head forward sets up the cavitation process. An area of low pressure within the microvascular system, the minute blood vessels at the front of the brain develops. The brain, which initially had struck the rear of the skull, now starts to move forward, and now the area of low pressure of the front brain is suddenly converted into an area of high pressure. The sudden change in the pressure within the microvascular system at the front of the brain destroys the air bubbles in those minute blood vessels. The rapid creation and destruction of these air bubbles damages the microvascular system that feeds oxygen to the front of the brain. The resultant damage is that the brain is damaged in an area directly opposite the place where the brain first hit the skull. As the head rebounds backwards, the process reverses. The brain slides forward until it crashes into the front of the skull now. An area of low pressure is now created in the microvascular system at the back of the brain, causing bubbles to form in the blood vessels at the back of the brain now. And when these bubbles collapse as the brain starts moving backward again, damage is done to these blood vessels. So this repetitive phenomena causes the damage to the brain at the primary impact site as well as the directly diagonal region, which is affected as well. Coming on to the last topic of these regional injuries, the spinal injuries. Compression damage. This occurs when the victim falls from a height either onto his feet or his head, though in the latter case the head injuries may overshadow the damage to the spine, as well as absorbing most of the impact. When a person falls on a long distance onto the feet, the kinetic energy of the deceleration may be absorbed by the fractures of the feet, legs and pelvis, but this can be transmitted up the spinal column. And this can be fractured at one or more than one points, or the force may cause the upper cervical spine to impinge on the base of the skull, causing a ring fracture around the foramen magnum as the spine is rammed into the posterior cranial fossa. A fall on the head may also cause the burst atlas injury, where the impact of the occipital condyles in an axial direction wedge the superior atlantal articulating facets apart and split the ring of the vertebra. The posterior arch can also be fractured in hyperextension by compression between the occiput and the posterior spine of the axis. Compression fractures of the vertebral bodies may occur most commonly in the lower dorsal and the upper lumbar zone, particularly T12 and L1. Now, hyperflexion and hyperextension injury, whiplash injury, this is the diagrammatic representation. Now let us see into the details of it. Of the two, the hyperextension is much more dangerous in causing the spinal damage, possibly because flexion is protected by the contraction of the strong posterior neck muscles, whereas the weak anterior longitudinal ligament is incapable of preserving the integrity of the cervical spine during hyperextension. In frontal or rearward motor vehicle crashes, which comprise 80% of the accidents, there is usually hyperflexion and hyperextension component to the spines of the occupants, though head restraints and seat belts restrict the range of the movement. Where a car undergoes violent frontal deceleration, the subject's head will swing down into hyperflexion and, unless restrained, will then strike the fascia or the windscreen and rebound into hyperextension. And similarly, motorists involving a rear end crash commonly experience the whiplash injuries to the neck that occur as the torso accelerates forward and the neck lags and the head whips forward. During the normal driving, the head and the torso move relative to the vehicle. However, as the vehicle is struck from behind, the head tilts backward. It tends to go in hyperextension. The torso rises up, and after the initial impact, the head then snaps forward and the torso rebounds. This causes the hyperextension and hyperflexion, also known as the whiplash injury and also known as the clasp knife rigidity. Thank you.